Coach Crimson here, and today I just wanted to talk about, uh, what do coaches do? Like I always talk about, Coach Crimson this, Coach Crimson that, right? But I kind of wanted to talk about like what I do as a coach and what maybe a lot of other coaches do. A lot of people ask me, they're like, "Hey, I want to learn how to coach," or "Hey, like what is involved in the coaching process?" And I'm not going to go through my coaching process because that's a whole entire different video. But like I kind of want to summarize of like what I do and kind of stuff that other coaches will do. Because I think coaching is something that people are interested in, but they don't exactly understand what goes into it. And it's kind of like, in my mind, like programming. Like people know programming makes a lot of money, or they're interested in it. But when it comes down to it, you have to really like what you're doing, like working with players, working on mentality, reviewing, creating lessons plans, theories, mental stuff. You have to really understand and like that to really do it, right? And when people start doing that, they realize they don't like dealing with that stuff. That's what I mean, right? What do I do? So a lot of things I do that got me into coaching is review coaching content, right? Like for Apex specifically, Coach Raven, there's Coach Sea Lion, there's more Coach Hodsick, PvPX. I don't really like his content, but a lot of coaches just are available that will have their content, but they're not exactly widely viewed, right? Here's a great video of Valk Watson Seer right before the Valk Watson Seer meta, right? And like theory, game theory, right? You have to really understand and like game theory if you want to be a coach. And exploring game theory in not just one game, but multitudes of games is really important, right? I got into it with Overwatch, right? This is a great podcast I used to listen to, where they just talk about the game competitively, but they also go in depth with coaches. They talk with a lot of coaches and their philosophy, right? And for his instance, like Deepay was and still is a great coach for Overwatch, and he did it for many years. And listening to some of this content, um, you know, especially for like League players, Overwatch and Apex, like it's really nice to look at this content and talk about
Hello, everyone,
what
and welcome.
they do as a coach, right? And you even have old school players who wasn't around for the real coaching era that we are currently in, but had to learn to coach themselves, right? And that's something that I learned to do, right? I learned to coach myself first with Smash Brothers and Overwatch, and then once you do it for yourself, you can start doing it for other people, right? And again, I like this content, right? I don't even play League, or I started playing League recently again, but like I didn't even play League, but I still listen to their coaching content. I still listen to the content because I'm interested in the game theory, right? Game theory can transcend games, and it's really important to learn what's going on rather than just playing the game, right? And the best way to do that is by going through coaching content. What else do I do? I review game theory for Apex, like something like this. This is people don't know what we're looking at right now, but this is a storm map of of Olympus of where the storm cannot end, right? What does that mean? Storm cannot end. Well, there are pre-decided points for the storm to end, right? There's a bajillion of them, so you can't really map them all out, but you could, right? Especially the common ones. But these yellow circles indicate areas where the zone cannot end, right? And understand what we call the storm logic, right? And this is really cool because Coach Raven is one of the few that actually really studies it in depth. I consider myself pretty decent, right? Better than the average player. But understanding how the storm works, because there is some way, a mechanic for this working, right? And if you study it, it's really important, especially for Storm Point. And there's a reason why I didn't show you the Storm Point one. If you are interested in learning it, let me know. But there's really important stuff, especially for Storm Point and World's Edge, which dictate where the circle cannot end. And when you understand that and understand how circle pulls, really, really good. Um, Besides consuming content, I do VOD reviews for myself and other players, right? Um, I specialize in the macro side of Apex, and then most importantly, with the coaching stuff, I specialize in communication, um, mental goals, and mental like obstacles, right? If that makes any sense, and other stuff. So I'm not really a micro slash like mechanics coach because like my personal opinion, and every coach has like a thing they gravitate towards. I gravitate towards what's the best way to position yourself to do the best in the game, right? Skill can come later, right? Like getting good at the game, like legitimately good, and shooting the enemies and other mechanical stuff that comes later, right? Theoretically speaking, you should be able to accomplish at least most of your goal, maybe not high level, but accomplish your goal without having to have insane mechanics, right? Anybody can do it. The mechanics can come later once you play and spend enough time, of course, right? you'll get good at the game. Yeah, so I have great lesson plans. A lot of coaches, and this is something I'm still learning. Theories, right? If you go to Apex University, Coach Doc talks about this a lot. Like theories and drawing conclusions off of I'm not really sure to call it, so I call them theories or mental. There's a word for it. I'm just forgetting about it, so I apologize. But there are terms and other things that allow you to understand things, right? So, like for example, causality. One common thing I see with a lot of players that I coach is causality, right? Drawing conclusions to things that don't have no business being drawn conclusions to, right? For example, sensitivity. Controller sensitivity, mouse sensitivity is one of the biggest things in Apex that people like focus on, right? If I'm doing bad in a game and not hitting my shots, it must be because my sensitivity is not copying a pro, right? No, that's not the truth. Pros play what's good for them, that feels good to them, and they just adjust it to make what makes it feel good. But a lot of players, and there are some pros that do this, most famously Taimu from Overwatch, they draw a parallel to, hey, I'm not doing very well today. I'm going to change my sensitivity like zero point 0.2, zero point 0.5, and then all of a sudden they're doing better. Maybe it could have been the sensitivity, or maybe the confidence that you did by changing it is a placebo and caused you to just be more confident in your shots, right? Or the most famous by Taimu, the pixel skipping, is a thing that he pioneered to be a thing that was in a game. And I'm not going to go in depth for it, but long story short, he was a pro player who had a lot of influence in the community, as being a cracked fragger, and he made a video saying that in Overwatch, pixel would skip over. The mouse would skip over certain pixels depending on your sensitivity, right? And the lower sensitivity you have, the less pixels it would skip. It was completely pseudoscience. That's not real. But my whole point with that is that players will draw conclusions for things that aren't related, and these are things that can be done in coaching, right? Like you talk about that, talk about things like mental blocks, such as like why aren't you grinding ranked, and like mental stuff like that. So I like talking about that stuff. Um, and there's more, but basically that's what I do as a coach. Create lessons plans, VOD review, talk about mental obstacles and other stuff, and then just reviewing the game essentially, right? So, in short, if any of these things sound appealing to you, you can probably become a coach, right? Just start with yourself, and then learn to do it for others. And again, you really have to really understand and like the game, or games in general, to do this, right? Like I said before, I love League of Legends. I don't like playing it because it's kind of mental torture. I'm playing it now because I am dabbling again back in the mental torture. But in every game, there's really cool philosophies, and Raven talks a lot how he listens to LS, which is a great League of Legends coach, and he's just amazing. He talks about his thoughts on stuff, and he's just a wild coach. And if you have ever been in the league scene and understand who Coach Ellis is, what he did to league and like the waves he made was crazy, right? He had all these new ideas and new ways to practice for a game that's many years old, right? This is like a 10-year-old game, yet 7 years in, he's showing people like stuff that should have been figured out like years ago, right? So it's really understanding and learning these things, and just paying attention, right? It's just paying attention to these things to be the person to think outside the box, right? And that's just a really cool thing to do. So if anything sounds really appealing to you, try learning. And I see a couple people in my chat here. Hope this video is very insightful. If you have any questions, let me know. But that's pretty much it. Again, if you want some recommendations, I do recommend for Apex, Coach Raven, Coach Sea Lion. Hotsick has some views. Um, for G Dolphin's really good. He has an amazing video that was like 2 hours long, going off of stuff he does for coaching. And then for stuff that's not league, I really recommend just checking out some of these coaches like Peter Dunn. Just the podcast I like to listen to is Travis Gafford, especially when he interviews league coaches. Like these are two league coaches right now that are current number one in their league, and there's a lot of topics. Like if you don't play league, it's kind of like, wow, I don't play league. How will I understand or learn some of these stuff? Well, luckily this podcast here they segment the questions. So if you just look at their podcast and look at the questions, you can maybe find something that's not essentially related to like league, right? And like something like that is like this one right here that was interesting. Why are super teams overrated? And this can apply for any team, right? Like the idea of a super team with players that have big ego, right? And understanding their mental as to why it might not work. And I think that applies to every game, right? You have an ego, even traditional sports. How do you get players together that have a giant ego, and how do you squash that? So this is something they delve into. Um, And then sometimes talking to pros is really nice because you can get their ideas. And Double F here is a former League of Legends pro, and he talks to people about different stuff. And he most notably did a episode with old school players and how they dealt with not having coaches back in the day. Or right here is an episode literally with coaches from with LS that guy I just talked about. So just find content, and this type of content is very rare. So it's really important to be in the community of coaches, or at least try to get into that community and start talking to them about what they're interested in. So cool. Hope you liked the video. I'm gonna do some more. I don't really know why I made this video. I just thought, hey, let's just make a video on coaching because maybe some person in the chat would be interested. Um, and overall, another reason I like coaching, which I'll end this video on, is I just like fucking talking a lot, and it's a way where I can just talk to someone and have a willing victim. All right, thanks guys. If you liked the video, please comment. Let us know what other stuff we should talk about in the future.